The thing about loss is that you have a bunch of people that are stranded on an island. What are they going to do? If we were going to build a society from the ground up, what would we want and what would we need and how do we do it? The first thing that I was thinking when, oh, this is going to be a state of nature kind of show.
It's time to start organizing. We need to figure out how we're going to survive here.
The state of nature isn't a bunch of imaginary people in an imaginary place. It's real socialized, actual people in the absence of any kind of social order. So you can crash on an island and be in a state of nature. You can also live in a civilized society that collapses. The state of nature is an ever-present possibility of human life. And the question is, how do you build up a society out of a complete situation of collapse?
So Thomas Hobbes is the English philosopher that really kind of came up with the state of nature idea. Hobbes said that the state of nature was nasty, brutish, and short. And we see how quickly, even without the others, people end up dying on the island. Hopefully some sort of social organization will protect us from each other.
Man's got a right to protect his property.
Get up.
In the state of nature, there's disagreement over what's yours and mine, what's moral and immoral, and we will naturally form coalitions, and our coalitions will differ by family, by clan, by religion. This is just a recipe for disaster.
But other people thought the state of nature was a little different, right? So take Rousseau, for example, right? So we have Daniel Rousseau on the show, who is representing Rousseau, the French philosopher, who's most famous for his concept of the noble savage.
Rousseau says natural people in their natural environment are fundamentally good.
Rousseau thought that society corrupts, that society would end up throwing us into a worse state than we were in the beginning.
You're just not looking at the big picture, Doc. Still back in civilization.
Yeah? And where are you?
Me? I'm in the wild.
Different theories have different sort of theories about A, what a state of nature would be like, and B, what's the best way to move up from a state of nature to the best government possible.
If I was a dictator, I would just shoot you and go about my day.
Hobbes says the only way we can really get away from a state of nature is by submitting to an authority. So you need a single source of power, and only if everybody submitted completely to a single source of power could there be order.
By hypothesis, we're all free, we're all equal, we're all rational. How are we going to select some unique individual leader or some group? Are we going to form a democracy? How is this to be decided?
What if I don't want to be the leader?
Yeah, well, I don't think Jack wanted it either.
Some people are smarter than others. Some people can dominate others. We're equally vulnerable, and we can pose an equal threat to one another's survival because there is no one so strong or so smart that they can't be killed while they're sleeping.
Good morning.
Now, one of the things we see on the island is there's no single leader. You have these two leaders, completely two different approaches, and you see that there's conflict between them.
You're not gonna shoot me, Jack.
People keep shifting loyalties from one to the other, and there's never any stable organization.
Hobbes says the only time you develop an obligation to stand your ground and fight for the common cause is when your whole union has some hope of defeating the enemy. If you are manifestly too small a group to be able to deter attacks from outsiders, each person remains individually in a state of nature, and so she or he can defect to save their own skins. Even if you look at a settled society, everything depends upon people's going along.
You might want to ask yourself about all the good stuff that comes from being a part of this society.
A basic precondition for having a livable human life is to have some kind of a social contract within the group of people that you're living with.
Hey, we're all in this together, man. Let's treat each other with a little respect.
Shut up, Lardo.
And by saying social contract, we don't literally mean that they all go and sign a contract, but some sort of social organization that might prevent them from tearing each other apart, right, whenever it was profitable for them.
So what's the point of a social contract? The point is to have a stable society, a lasting peace. Normally we assume that every human being at least wants to survive. And so that would be a natural sort of point of consensus for a social contract. It's all really about what should we do, how may I act? And that's what the social contract does. It lays down the rules of the road.
Every man for himself is not going to work. We can't live together. We're going to die alone.
Is there some sort of social contract on the island? Is there a government? We're talking about our survivors, not the others. They basically still are individuals. At any moment, any of them can walk away and join the other side, which they do, or just go to the other side of the island, set up camp. What really keeps them together are their personal loyalties to one another.
You still got my back.
Absolutely.
I mean, Sawyer has a very happy life with Juliet, but he's still going to compromise that life because he feels like he owes his friends. You get a lot of instability. You get some selfish people. But I mean, you still have some good people that do compassionate, altruistic things for other good people. One minute, somebody can, sacrifice themselves. Another minute, someone can betray you. And whether they do it or not is really up to them. Maybe you can imagine them all eventually saying, look, what we need is some sort of common way to arbitrate our disagreements. And for that, we need a shared leadership. And you can see how then a government forms up and you can have some sort of social order. At that point, they have an obligation to society.
The idea of a social contract has no expiration date. As long as there are human societies, there's going to be need for a social contract. It makes our society intelligible to us, and it also gives us some direction for improving our society.